Alright, so we're looking into how to make a double exposure image in Photoshop. So double exposures are a type of composite. We already have a bit of experience with that, but they have a bit of a different treatment to them. So we're not going for believable combining two images together. We're kind of going for more of a supernatural, mystical look. So I will show you some examples in class. But for this specific project, you're going to be picking a celebrity and you're going to be picking two photo resources that represent them and then creating a double exposure with those three resources. So I'm going to go ahead and get a picture of Hayley Williams because the new Paramore album just came out. And the first thing you want to do, whether you are in Google or Bing or anything like that, is to filter it or go to Tools and select the largest image size you can because we want as high res of an image as we can. So when you're selecting photos, pick something that looks like it is professionally taken. So we don't want paparazzi pictures and we don't want red carpet, super high exposure, super high flash. So we're looking for something a little more artsy. So this one right here stands out. The profile view is very interesting, and this is a nice clean image. This is also something that'll be really easy to cut out. So if you want to challenge yourself and have one with a background, you can, but I know that this will take me not that long to cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm just going to paste it into Photoshop. And the first thing you want to do, we know a little bit about smart objects. When you create a smart object with a layer, what you're doing is constraining the pixels in there so that you can keep it as clear looking as possible. So if I were to just blow this up on its own, it may start to get blurry. If I right click on my layer and convert it to a smart object, I'm able to resize it a lot easier, and it should still look semi-clear, as clear as it can. So I think that looks good. So now we need to go find some pictures that we want to combine with her. So I'm going to recommend Pexels again. You can use Unsplash, you can use Adobe Stock, whatever you prefer. But I think I want to make it look like she's coming out of some flames. So this one could work. I want one that kind of feels vertical. This one is interesting. I think I like this one. This one's also cool, but it doesn't look all that detailed. Let's go with this one. I'm gonna download it. Alright, so before we do anything with this, let's hide it. I want to show you a new way to select things. So we've got so many different ways at this point, right? When you go into select, you can use color range, you can use subject, you can create a mask and select, darks or lights. You can go into your selection tools, you can use the polygon, you can use quick select or the magic wand. The magic wand could work for this. We gotta be on the right layer first. We can get some of the whites, but if you look, like, it only does so much, right? So I want to show you a new way, and it's gonna sound a little complicated, but I promise it'll actually make things easier for you. So you have the layers panel probably already open. If you don't have channels open, I want you to go to Window and pop it open in your Windows panel. So what channels is it's our color system that we learned about last quarter. So the additive color system is RGB, red, blue, green, mixed together to make all other colors. And the CMYK subtractive color system is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So we're working in RGB right now. When I click on one of these channels, it's going to show me things that appear the lightest is where the most red is. So when I click on red, you see that the red tones in her skin and the redness of her hair goes white. Everything else is in contrast, where the green and the blue look differently. And all of these things combined together as colors is what makes it look like this. So I want to pick the one with the highest contrast, the one that will appear the darkest. So I think that's this one right here, blue. And what we're gonna do is duplicate it. And then you're going to make sure it's selected. So we're on the layer, we're on the blue copy. And you're gonna do Control L, and that will bring up your levels. So this looks complicated as well. All you need to know is the left is black, the right is white, and the middle slider is anything in between. So if I move this middle slider in different directions, it's going to either get brighter or darker. But what I want to do is make this darker. I want this whole thing to be black. So if I take the black slider and just push it in as far as it'll go, I can get almost everything to be black, right? So we'll hit OK. And then from there, we have to figure out how to get rid of all this other stuff in the background. So if I hold Command and click on this, it's going to select everything in the background. And from there, I can just hit delete and get that cleared out. And then I just have to go in with my brush, and you want to make sure your brush is set to a hard edge so you don't get any soft, blurry selections. And then you can go in and just start to clean up some of these areas that didn't get fully filled in. So I want you guys to really pay attention to detail with this process. I'm going to go a little quick with it. But once you get it where you like it, you can go ahead and hold Command again and click on this, and it will select everything except what's in black. Then if we go back over here, sometimes you have to click on a different layer and go back. We're now on the smart object. So if I create a clipping mask, it'll disappear because our selection is on top of her. So what you want to do before you make your clipping mask is do Command-Shift-I, inverse that selection, and then when you make it, it'll cut out everything in the background. So now we can take this layer here, our background layer, the very most bottom layer, and we'll fill it up with black, just so you can see that we cut everything out correctly. And there you go. And sometimes you have to go in and spend some more time cleaning things up. For what we're going to do with this, I am going to keep moving forward with it. So the next thing I want to do is get rid of anything that I don't want to be in this. So I want to have her head kind of hanging and the flames coming out, and I don't want any of this body. So I'm going to go back on this layer mask, go back to my paintbrush, make sure I'm painting in black to mask over things. And now I'm going to go to a soft brush, and I'm going to get rid of a good portion of her. So we'll sit with that for now. We can go ahead and turn our flames back on, and I think I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. That little pause right there was me checking to make sure it was a smart object before I started messing with the size. Alright, so we're doing the exact same process we just did again. So we can go ahead and turn off these other layers so we can just focus on the fire. We're going to go to our channels, and we're going to click through and see which one has the most contrast. So there is a clear winner. It is this one, right? That has a very much more contrast than either of these. So we're going to click it, Command and click, and it's going to select all of the fire. And I'm not even going to modify this one. I'm just going to go ahead and go back to my fire. I've got all of it selected. And then remember, if we just click layer mask, it's going to automatically take that selection and apply it. And then we can turn that back on, turn our bottom layer back on, and now we've got some fire here. And we've got her. You can see there are parts where I need to spend some more time cleaning up my selection, so I can just go back into the layer mask and again just paint over some of those spots that I don't want to show up. And then I should be able to start planning how I want to use this. So I think I want it to be flipped. And if you hold shift, it'll flip it at an angle so you can get a perfectly vertical flip. And I think I want to scale it up quite a bit. Maybe have something like that. Looks good to me. I might actually take it even bigger. I like how that looks. So we'll hit enter. And since we have it as a smart object, it's constraining those proportions really nicely. It's looking clean still. And then we're just going to go back onto this layer mask, back to our paintbrush, still have it on black, and we're going to get rid of the things that we don't want to be on there. And one easy way to do this as well, if you, once again, go over here, hold Command and click on the mask, sorry. Now you have your portrait selected, so if you invert your selection, Command Shift I, you can pop back over and have an easier time getting those edges. So now that I did that, I think I want to go ahead and get rid of some more of this shirt on this layer. So I'm going to go back to this mask and just do the exact same thing I was just doing and just get rid of some of those edges. And this may be a good time to come in and start to clean up some of those areas of the selection that didn't come out super great. You just gotta be really careful not to do any damage. Alright, so I think that's looking pretty interesting. You can also, as always, play around with blending modes. So I think that's an interesting look. Pin light. So we have one thing going. You can also start to blend, have this transition feel more smooth by going back to your paintbrush and just setting a lower opacity. So let's go with like 35, 30 to 40 is good. We want to be on the fire, and we're just starting to make that transition a little bit more believable. So I like how that's looking. So we got to put one more image in this now. I think I'm happy with how these two look for now. I would like to, just real quick, I think I want to put this instead of pin light. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Back to Pexels. I want to find some kind of concert photo to put in her head. I want like a performer. This one's good. I'm just gonna copy this. Pop that up top. Make it a bit bigger, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna hold Command, click on the layer mask of the portrait. We've got that selection, and then we can go ahead and create a layer mask with it. And one thing you want to do, we want to be able to move the figures in the head and scale them around without having to move the actual shape itself. So what you want to do is go right here to this little chain and click it, and that way when you select the image you can move it around inside of the mask. So I want to have it right like that. I think it's pretty good to me. I think it should go a little bit bigger. All right, and then from there, let's see if there, I'm thinking screen's probably gonna be, yeah, that looks pretty cool. Let's go with screen. So we're going back to the layer mask, and now we're doing the exact same thing, which is blurring those edges, making those transitions as clean as we can. So I like how that looks. I think I want to go ahead and add an adjustment layer to this because I don't want it to be blue. I want it to feel more red and warm like all the other pieces. So I don't want to go crazy with it. But maybe something like that, and then we'll go ahead and get those magentas as well. Getting interesting. I think that's pretty cool. I don't like this one weird little bit of color there. But let's not be picky. I don't want to have to record a third part to this. So let's go through now. We just got to clean up that original selection that we made. So let's try adding a feather. If you, once again, command click to get that selection. We're going to do select, modify, and you have a couple different options. You can modify the border, you can smooth it, you can make it bigger or smaller, or you can make it softer. So I think I'm actually going to contract it first. Let's do a really small one. Try 2 points. You can see how it comes in a little bit. So I actually think I want to do that one more time. And let's try 2 more points. Okay, now we're going to select, modify, feather, and I just want to make it a tiny bit soft. Let's try like 3. And then we should be able to, once again, Command Shift I to invert, paint with black, and we should be able, oh, make sure your opacity is up high again. Go through and get rid of some of those weird edges we had, and you'll see that it is softer. So that fixed most of our weird spots. It definitely fixed the ones on the face. Hair needs a bit more work up here. And then I think I want to finish this off by just kind of blending this in with the background a bit more. So I think I'm going to start here. Take this black and then take the actual head a little bit black as well. Cool. So that took me about 20 minutes and I had to explain every step of the way, so I don't think this will take you too long.